Oh wow, I can't believe it's been that many days since Horny and Afraid Plus. I'm doing it a second time because I feel like I'm pretty dedicated to getting this to be a regular thing. I know last time it was uploaded on a different day, but I had had the idea to do Horny and Afraid Plus pretty late in the week, so now I can do it fairly earlier. Hopefully, episode 3 comes out even before this one comes out, because I want to have it out pretty soon after the chapter is released, so it's still somewhat relevant, even though maybe 3 of you are going to listen. But hey, I love the 3 of you that I assume listen. Keep on doing it, because this week we have lots of bangers to talk about. Let's get right on into it. We're starting off this week with number 19 of our list, Roboco, raking in a good old-fashioned 4 out of 10 like it normally does. Although honestly, while I tend to enjoy Roboco more than the average person, this chapter did not do it for me. I don't like Mr. Second Year and his shtick about being arrested or apprehended by some maybe jump officials. I don't know. It's weird and really not all that funny. But luckily, he's not really the focus of the chapter, so we can mostly just ignore him. The focus of this chapter was on everyone's favorite mangaka, Rudy. She was upset because Shonen Jump rejected her submission, and she's all upset about it because she identifies herself as a mangaka, so when she's not succeeding, she's like, fuck, am I a loser? Why even draw? So she goes to Bondo and has him read her chapter, and while he does mostly enjoy it, he can tell it's not like her. Clearly she's been off for a while, and she's feeling pretty desperate to get into Jump. And she only feels worse after hearing that Roboco got a submission into Jump Giga, some subsidiary magazine for Jump, I imagine. I'm not too aware of all the things that Jump has going on, but it seems like, at the very least, it's a fairly good accomplishment. So, in another desperate attempt, Rudy makes a chapter that copies off of Roboco's style, because she figures if Roboco got in, she'll just try doing what Roboco did, because in her mind, Roboco is great. But this fails again, and for the same reason. Rudy's not playing to her strengths. She's trying to copy others and just do what she can in desperation. After this failed attempt, she starts to think that she might as well give up manga if she's not going to be able to be successful. Hearing this, Bondo tries to console her and show her why her way of thinking is flawed. He tells her that, oh, well, no one praises me for reading Shonen Jump, so I might as well quit that and just study. And Rudy, understandably, is like, what are you talking about? You don't read Shonen Jump for approval. You read it because you like it. And boom, shock, horror, she realizes her mistake. This whole time, she's been writing manga in an attempt to get people to accept her, when in reality, she should have been playing to her strengths, like I've said previously, and make manga not because she wants approval, but because she truly loves the medium. After that, in a rush of inspiration, Rudy manages to write a chapter that gets into Shonen Jump. From what it looks like, she's finally going to be a real author in the magazine. And the chapter ends. So cool. I guess that was like motivational or whatever. But if I'm being honest, it does nothing for me. Roboco has had a few chapters in the series where we have Rudy and Roboco making manga. And that's when we're at the peak of manga references that are really tiring. And it's really not funny. This chapter had a fair bit of them, and it began poorly, and the ending was tepid. I mean, this is Roboco. I'm not expecting great art. I'm just expecting some laughs, and they weren't here. So 4 out of 10 is what it deserves, and I am truly and deeply upset that I managed to talk about Roboco for 4 minutes, even if I was only summarizing the chapter. That's all I really can do with Roboco. There's not much to talk about the series as a whole or things affecting whatever. That ain't gonna happen. So, with that being said, let's skip over number 18, Witch Watch, at a 5 out of 10, because the podcast already talked about that one. which means I get to go on right up to number 17, Black Clover, at a 6 out of 10. Whoa! What's there to say about Black Clover this week? Well, it seems like some pretty crazy stuff went down. We continue the fight against Noelle and, I learned her name this time, Vanica. And Noelle is clearly whooping her ass, and it seems like this battle's a done deal. Vanica is, doing her crazy girl thing, where she's like, OMG, you're so strong, we should be rivals. And Noelle's like, that's stupid, fuck you, I hate you. Which is understandable. Vanica has not been the nicest person for most of her life, so I don't blame Noelle for wanting to murderize her. Sadly, before Noelle has the chance to really do her in for the final blow, something bad happens. The demon inside Vanica emerges. It's a evil power. It's Magu-chan in the flesh. So she emerges and she's all like, hey, I don't want to interrupt you, but listen, Vanica, you're a dumb bitch and you're a loser for losing, and you're pretty cool, Noelle, but listen up, here's how it's going. I have my own plans going on. I gotta control you ladies. Don't tell the other devils, because they don't know what I got cooking up. And to share my good graces, I'm gonna let you finish your fight, because it looks like fun. But, yeah. After that, you're gonna get fucked, and you're just gonna have to deal with it. And that was pretty much the chapter. Black Clover, mostly action chapters, not much narrative to sink your teeth into, which means that, on the bright side, I don't have to spend too much time summarizing and talking about Black Clover. I guess I will spend some time talking about what this might mean for the story, and also, I'll use this time to reach out to my boy, my homie OneSmart, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know what's going on. I read all of Black Clover, and I've been reading weekly for now. But all these characters moving around that I really don't care about, it makes it really hard to follow what's happening. So, is Magu-chan, like, the big bad devil? Because I've definitely heard her name before. And this seems like it's going to be a very bad thing. Did we know that Magu-chan specifically was in Vanica, or did we not know her devil? Because it's kind of unclear. And do we know why she cares about having 3 mages of the same sex? Because that seems to be a point of notice. Also, why does she have a bunch of dicks on her body? That doesn't seem like a very cool thing to do. I don't know, you're the expert and I'm not, but I'm confused. So if you can, leave a comment, answer as many questions as I can, and I want you to know, I'm being serious. I'm sorry I don't follow it like I should, but Black Clover is garbo stinky doo-doo, and that makes it really hard to follow. I would like to follow it so I can give you countless more reasons why it's dookie, but I can't. So, if you'll give me context so I can better form my arguments about why your favorite series smells bad, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'm sure you're also going to leave a dislike, which is understandable because I just said a bunch of mean words. But listen, I'm me and you're you, so why not just accept that and answer my questions anyway, because I want to show in your series with a more educated point of view. Anyway, that's all I have to say about Black Clover for now. So let's move on to our next topic, number 16, Ayakashi Triangle, with a fucking 6 out of 10, which, oh my gosh, for Ayakashi Triangle to do that 2 weeks in a row, I believe, is fucking incredible. I don't want to give Ayakashi Triangle too much praise because it's Ayakashi Triangle, and I'm certain next week or the following is going to drop the ball spectacularly, but I'm here for the good shit, and this week I got the good shit. So let's talk about this chapter real quick and then get into possibly any further implications. This week on Ayakashi Triangle, Rochka shows up. I really hope that's how you pronounce her name. and she wants to hang out with Suzu. But Suzu's all like, nah, I got too much important shit going on. You go hang out with Matsuri. Only problem is, Rochka doesn't like Matsuri because of that one time when she saw his dick. So they're both alone together, not having a good time. Shenanigans ensue. Rochka sees his grandfather, thinks he's Santa. It's hilarious. And then they start playing video games. Matsuri lets Rochka win. She briefly considers becoming a pro gamer, but she doesn't want Matsuri to know that she's having a good time, because if you recall, she saw Matsuri's dick and now decides that she hates him. So she's trying her best to hide that she's having a fun time, and Matsuri's trying his best to make sure Rochka has a good time. It's a classic shenanigan. But suddenly it starts thundering and storming, and Rochka is a little child baby, so she's afraid. But don't worry, Matsuri's here to help. Matsuri teaches her a little incantation to supposedly keep the scary thunder away and protect her. And then, after that, I suppose she warms up a bit more to Matsuri and win for the day. Awesome. That's the end of the chapter. Suzu and Rochka's talking mirrors show up, and Rochka's quick to remind Matsuri, it's not like I had fun or anything. So that's cool. Great. Pretty simple chapter, just a character development chapter. Although, again, this chapter was really good this week. I mean, really good for Ayakashi Triangle standards. It didn't really do anything all that special. It just mostly avoided the kind of shit that I hate about Ayakashi Triangle. Now, there was a bit more fan service this week as compared to last time, but it was so minuscule and the contents of the chapter were heartwarming enough where I don't really care all that much. It seems Ayakashi Triangle is probably going to be going into a string of episodic chapters for a while until the next arc starts up. I don't really know what the next arc is going to be, We have our classic Monster of the Week scenarios going on. At any point, it could just decide to have another multi-chapter arc, but we'll see where that goes. I don't think there's much else for me to talk about this chapter. It was pretty bare bones, and I don't like the series, so I'm going to try my best to talk the least about it as possible. So with that being said, we're going to go right on up to number 15, Nine Dragons Ball Parade, 7 out of 10. This chapter we are again back at the game with our big boys, having a good time. We're still down 3-0, but things are looking up. We're pulling out some strategies, getting off hits, stealing bases, the whole 9 yards. It's pretty cool. After having 2 people on base, our main boy, cleanup hitter Tsurugi, hits a home run, and they get 3 runs, tying up the score. And then I'm sure pitcher guy strikes out 2 of our no-name losers. Doesn't really matter. They're not part of the main crew. But now it's Hibusei versus Ryudo. Ryudo has a killer pitch. Hibusei is good at everything. And it's quite the matchup, I guess. I'm not going to try to be a sports announcer. I would never be good at it. But, yeah. Ryudo uses his killer pitches, gets off some good ones, and Hibusei thinks he knows what's up. But Hibusei pulls out something kind of crazy, something called a parachute changeup, which I guess is when you throw what looks like a fastball, but then it slows down, confusing the opponent. This messes up our big boy Hibusei and makes him upset. He's sad because he wants to be good at baseball, but no one's letting him win the game. It's kind of rude, if I'm being honest. But now that we've pulled off this new pitch, Hibusei doesn't know what's coming next. Ryudo throws a fastball, and that's strike 2. And that's the end of the chapter. So that's interesting, I guess. Now, if I'm being honest, it's really difficult to talk about this series now because just recently we found out that Nine Dragons Ball Parade is ending next chapter. I'm not really surprised. That's to be expected with this kind of thing. It's been going pretty rough for a while. It's been down in the table of contents practically since it began. And it's kind of a generic sports manga. I really did want it to succeed. I mean, I always want authors to succeed in what they're doing because I'm sure that this guy had great plans coming up. I'm sure if given enough time, he could have made something cool. But that's the nature of Shonen Jump. So I imagine next chapter we're gonna finish up the game, and that'll just be it. Hibusei, I guess, is a final villain. I mean, we're not even gonna go to fight Hakuo unless somehow we super speed by and we're like the end, and then we also beat Hakudo, and it was really cool. So whatever. With a heavy heart, I guess this is the second to last time I'm going to be talking about Nine Dragons Ball Parade. I imagine next time I'll either be more despondent about it or happy to talk about it wrapping up and looking forward to what's coming next. So that's cool. I'm just going to move on to number 14, Magu-chan God of Destruction, with a 7 out of 10. To hopefully make myself forget the pains of the world. Here again we have the classic setup of Magu-chan seeing the humans doing something akin to reveling, and he's like, hey, is that worship from me? That's pretty cool. Good job, humans. But then Urudu's like, no, Magu-chan, it's just a festival thing. It's pretty cool. And Magu-chan, of course, doesn't want to deal with this. He never wants to let this kind of thing slide. He has to be the one true god. It's the Tanabata festival, and people are hanging up papers on trees and such to make wishes for whatever. Pretty cool. Of course, Magu-chan thinks he's far above this, and he'd probably be way better at granting wishes. So he decides to go around asking people what they want to wish for. Rudu's friend, who I'm not going to look up the name of, is like, hey, I don't want to do homework anymore. And he's like, easy, I got this, don't you even worry, he says as he's about to fucking destroy the school. Because in his words, if there's no school, there's no homework. Ren tells him, no, you probably shouldn't do that. Bad idea. So he doesn't. But Magu-chan is still desperate to grant people's wishes because he's very thirsty for approval. Because he needs people to love him. But then, Ruru gets an amazing idea, but we're not told what it is at first, so they go around town asking people for what they want to wish for, and they write it down on paper, just like the Tanabata festival. They're going around to pretty much every single character we've met, asking them what they want, and there's jokes on there, like Nabutaku, of course, asking for cooking stuff, his crabs just wanting Nabutaku to be happy, this and that. It's pretty cool. But then we get to the end of the chapter, and Ruru and Magu-chan are on the beach. Now Magu-chan, understandably, is like, alright Ruru, we've been running around town doing all this stupid bullshit. What are we actually going to do? And here is what they were going to do. Ruru holds up Magu-chan and has him shoot off his beam, possibly hitting like a shooting star or something in the sky. I don't really know. It wasn't made all that clear. But point being, the reason was, with that, all the sparks fly, all the little individual rock pieces go off, and it looks like tons and tons of little shooting stars for everyone to wish off of. Because that's also a thing you do. I don't know why they had to gather the pieces of paper, and I don't know if Ruru thought that was actually going to do anything, or if Magu-chan thinks it's actually going to do anything, but I suppose it was a pretty sweet way to end the chapter, like these always are. It's a pretty common thing for Magu-chan now, for Magu-chan to want to do a thing, for Ruru to be like, nah, don't do it, let's do it this way. And the way that Ruru wants to do it doesn't actually mean or do anything, but Magu-chan accepts it because he appreciates the work that Ruru puts into things, so that's cool. That's all I have to say about Magu-chan, God of Destruction, chapter whatever. Let's move on to number 12, because we're skipping 13, Candy Flurry 7 out of 10, because our boys talked about it on the podcast, as you know. So, number 12, Blue Box, 7 out of 10. We open with our boys Taiki and Haru at the preliminaries for the tournament. But actually, they just crushed it, and they're already in the top 16. Haryu is quick to point out to Taiki that despite the fact that they did well, he was covering Taiki quite a bit, so it still shows that Taiki has quite a bit of room to grow. But during this discussion, Taiki notices someone playing really well out of the corner of his eye, someone who, after his match, seems to know Haryu. Quite interesting. Turns out his name is Ichiro, and he's mad at Haryu because previously, as it turns out, Haryu was going to give him Chinatsu's phone number if he beat him in a match, which I guess he did or he didn't. He technically did or he technically didn't. Honestly, either I'm just dumb or the text didn't make it all that clear, but point being, Haryu never gave him the number, and he is not happy about it. So Haryu says, hey, if you beat this guy here, referring to Taiki, I'll give you her number. And with that, we probably have either Taiki's first big match coming up, or possibly his final match, depending on if they want to have a few lead-up matches towards it. So we should look forward to that. But Taiki's not too psyched about being used for this type of thing, because of course he likes Chinatsu-senpai, and he wants her number, although he probably already has it. No, he does. I'm stupid. So he goes home, frustrated, but before he walks in the door, he overhears Chinatsu and his mom talking. They're talking about last night how Chinatsu told Taiki that it's okay if he doesn't win this year, because he has 2 more years to go. And they're talking about how Taiki pushes himself too hard, and that he makes people worry. But Chinatsu also reflects upon the fact that she probably shouldn't have told Taiki that, because she didn't tell it for his sake. It's her final year, and she feels like it's slipping away. She wants more time, but she doesn't have it. So she reflected her feelings on towards Taiki and told him that he has so much time left, he should be happy. And now she realizes that that was kind of rude and uncalled for, even if she wasn't trying to be rude. She just had a little bit of an oversight. But with that, Taiki is reinvigorated. He now understands what he has to do, and he has drive again. So, yet again, we seem to have Blue Box bucking the trends and the tropes, cutting out possible chapters of our characters being despondent or upset, and just helping them move past it. Because as we understand, the tropes of the romance genre tend to be a bit silly, and I really think that Blue Box is systematically trying to break down each one of them in these early chapters, which I think is really cool. I can't wait for Blue Box to get to the point where it actually becomes its own, because right now it's great and I love it. All the character interactions are beautiful. I like the plot and I like the art a lot. But it's very clear that it's still in that stage of trying to come into its own and trying to buck the trend. So once it's in full swing, and once it finally develops its own full personality, I have to imagine it's gonna fly off the fucking rails. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's pretty much the end of the chapter. Really simple. Most of the Blue Box chapters are actually pretty simple right now, because like I said, it's really just focusing on setting up pieces and taking off possibilities of dumb tropes that we don't want to see. So I look forward to seeing Taiki's next match in the tournament, and hopefully we get to see more actual badminton play, like long, in-depth matches, because recently it's been nothing but the romance stuff. And that's fine, it's cool, I like it. But I do also want to see some badminton, because that's not really a sport you see in sports manga, so hopefully we get it. But with that being said, I think we can move right on up to number 11, High School Family, Kokosei, 8 out of 10. This chapter, Suzaki and Ichiro are at each other's throats, competing left and right. After Ichiro finally got the chance to join the team, you'd think that things would be good because Suzaki wanted the chance to train alongside Ichiro. But it seems now that he has joined the team, they're getting hyper-competitive, and this entire chapter is basically just that joke, just played in many different ways, that I find really fun. First, it's about who crossed to the finish line first. Then it's who can be the best at beach volleyball. Then they're thrown into the ocean by their teammates for making beach volleyball not fun anymore. Luckily, while they're down there, they find clams. progressively competing to see who can find the biggest and the most clams, both of them amassing a frankly ridiculous amount of clams. However, alas, things go wrong when a shark appears. Oh fuck. But Iatani got it covered. He's like, Ayo Suzaki, don't even worry about it. If we swim up, then the shark will think we're prey and attack us. But if we stand here, or float here, and stare it down, it'll eventually just go away. And surprisingly, it works. But then a moment later, the shark comes back to check up on him again. And so again, they stand there, doing nothing, and then the shark goes away. They think it's over. But then, oh fuck, the shark comes back, and then they nearly drown. And then the shark goes away. And then they're like, alright, good, we're back, we're done, cool. They get back to the surface, and they both collapse on the beach like a bunch of fucking idiots for competing too hard. And it's a good old fun time, really funny. What I love about High School Family is the same reason why there's not much to say about it. Most chapters have one or two key jokes that are just played upon over and over again until it peaks to be really funny. I wish there were more to say, but that's all there is to say. So let's skip over number 10, Undead Unlock, at an 8 out of 10, and get right on into number 9, I Tell C, at an 8 out of 10. It's the final chapter of I Tell C, and we're wrapping up this 2-chapter arc that we started last time. Our gang correctly guesses the password to be the character N, because our silly boy here was using the first word of every sentence of his to use up all the Japanese characters until there was only one left, N, also to signify the end of his life, since it's the end of the Japanese alphabet. Pretty poetic, but he doesn't get to die because we save him. Afterwards, we learn about why he did what he did. No one appreciates him for who he is. After he gets into a fight protecting somebody, things really start to fall apart for him. The bully used his father's position as a police officer to get him in trouble. His friend no longer wants to hang out with him because he can't be associated with people with a sullied record. His mom only cares if he gets into college, and now that he has assaulted somebody, that's way more difficult, and she just abuses him over it. And it's really bad. And with all this stress going on in his life, and no one letting him be who he is, and loving him for who he is, unless he does what they want him to do, he snaps and develops this plan. Afterwards, when he's in the police office after the bomb was disarmed, his mother shows up and starts giving him even more trouble, just playing some abusive cards, some emotional abuse that's really not cool. And rightfully, Risa smacks the fuck out of her to put her in her place, and happily accepts a suspension for what she did. And it's assumed that because of this action, our boy I finally gets to turn around. But we jump into a flash forward, a little bit of a time skip of who knows how long, and it looks like I is joining Division Imaginary, and it seems like going forward, this new crew dynamic would be beautiful. I say would be, because being the last chapter of I Tell C, we're not going to get to see that future, unfortunately. And that really sucks. I really feel like I Tell C was becoming something really good that I could look forward to reading every week. And I especially feel bad for my boy Zawardo. I hope you're listening out there, because I know you really did love this series a lot, and it meant a lot to you. And for that to be taken away because Shonen Jump doesn't know how to handle series that don't get immediately successful, it just sucks. It's happening over and over again. It was Hard-Boiled Cobb Dolphin, now it's I Tell C, and then it's Nine Dragons Ball Parade. It's ridiculous that so many new series are ending one after the other, and it sucks because each one of them, I thought, had good chances in Jump, but they're being cut down. I know that's the nature of Jump, but that doesn't make it okay. Or at least I don't have to be happy about it. So with all of my heart, Wardo, I hope you get over this loss. And I hope you can still manage to read the chapters that we did get and be happy and reminisce on what could have been. With that being said, let's go on to number 8, Sakamoto Days, at an 8 out of 10. This chapter was nothing but an action-filled thrill ride. We open back at the fight between Mr. Sakamoto and Mr. Bossman himself, and things are getting pretty hard. Mr. Bossman is bullying Mr. Sakamoto for being fat and that he probably can't even run that fast. He also brags that he has like 36 weapons on him, all built into his body like some sort of Frankie from One Piece Cyborg Man, but with swords and knives and such. But Mr. Sakamoto's all like, oh, you think I don't have weapons? I got weapons too. And he pulls off a half-off sticker, an advertisement with a coupon, and a Sugar-chan mechanical pencil. So he's coming in locked and or loaded. It's shit like this that I love, because this is such dumb bullshit. Before even reading further into the chapter, you know he's going to pull some crazy horse piss with him. And in fact, he does. He takes a lead pencil and flicks off a little piece of lead into Mr. Bossman's eye, blinding him in one eye, and then he sticks a half-off sticker on his other eye, like that's some sort of like major big plan. And then he just continues to beat the fuck out of him and takes out a belt. Was it his belt, or did he take off his own belt? I don't know. But this seems to be getting pretty crazy, and it's great. Sakamoto's starting to get kind of annoyed that it's taken so long to kill this guy, and he's like, yeah, I get it. I'm pretty hard to kill. Seemingly, he was made to be practically immortal. We get some weird flashback with him talking about some boss man. So there's a boss man for the boss man. Things only keep going higher up. Bossman pulls some more bullshit trying to stop Mr. Sakamoto, and Mr. Sakamoto just ignores it. He gets tied up, but he uses the coupon book to cut off the rope, I guess, because he can do that. And then they get hit by a train, and they get in the train and start fighting even more. Although, once they're on the train, Mr. Sakamoto gets lost in the crowd. Mr. Bossman is like, whoa, Mr. Sakamoto, he can do so much with so little. He is a true assassin. Now where is that scoundrel? And while he says that, we see in the background a skinny Mr. Sakamoto standing there, or sitting there. And next panel, he beats the fuck out of him. And he's like, if you're immortal, then I don't have to worry about killing you. Which, fuck, man. I love metal-ass lines like that, and it's great when they come from characters who don't talk much. That was a great chapter. So much fucking amazing action. You really feel it. The impact is amazing. I know Sakamoto Days' action has been compared to action movies and such, but I don't know enough about those to make a comment, which sucks, because I would love to be able to go in deeper and talk about how it compares and whatnot. But regardless, that was a fun chapter. And we're gonna move on up to number 5, skipping number 7's Elusive Samurai at a 9 out of 10, and number 6's Mashal at a 9 out of 10, to move on to number 5, One Piece at a 9 out of 10. This being only episode 2 of this podcast, I haven't had a chance to talk about One Piece since last week was on break, so this is going to be new to me. See, my issue is, One Piece is really dense and has lots of history, so with any given chapter, there's lots I could talk about. I could talk about future predictions, I could talk about current revelations that change things from the past. It's all a lot, and I'm just going to wing it and see what I feel like talking about and go from there. You should also keep in mind that right now I'm recording in my car, and we kind of have rain/drizzle starting, and I kind of just want to get this done already, so I'm not going to wait for it to stop or anything. So if you hear slight patters in the background, just except that is fun background noise to go with my beautiful voice. All of that being said, the chapter opens on the performance floor inside the dome. We're in the middle of the battlefield, and we have Tama being real scared by Queen, being kind of a jerk, yelling at her for no good reason, like the jerk he is. But that's not very important, because right now, kind of a big event happens. Because for the past while, Tama has been feeding all the gifters her little dumplings to eventually turn them over to our side. And this chapter, she's finally giving the command for all the gifters to switch sides to Team Luffy and Momonosuke, which will really turn the tides of battle. Because not only is that switching up and giving our side a good few more fighters, it's also causing lots of confusion on the battlefield. And because Tama decided to do that, it seems like Queen is ready to fuck her shit up with a laser blast. But then Sanji's all like, no man, don't do that. And delivers a Coulier strike, stopping him in his tracks. And he's all like, fuck you, judge's son. And Sanji's like, why did you say that name? Don't say that name or I'll fucking kill you. And he's about to. Because now we're getting a Sanji versus Queen fight, which pretty much everyone knew was going to happen. That's kind of how these things go. Luffy fights the number 1, Zoro fights the number 2, and Sanji fights the number 3. Nothing wrong with that. We all love our classic One Piece setup. But oh boy, look at that. Queen's finally showing his hybrid form. It's kind of weird that we saw Kaido's hybrid form before seeing Queen's hybrid form. Especially since Queen's hybrid form is such a fucking atrocious mess. I wish I hadn't seen it, and I'll try to kind of bleach that from my memory. I'll update you on how that goes. But for the time being, we cut to Chopper and Zoro, and a few minks, when we find out that this whole time, I guess the minks just had this magic healing doodad that recovers your injuries and gives you energy. But oh no, later you'll feel it twice as much. Whatever, who cares? It doesn't matter narratively. It's stupid. And I know man, I was kind of hoping that this would go in a different direction, because this seems really cop-outy. Because now, Zoro's back in action, it's gonna be like nothing happened, and then later, he's gonna be like, oof, ouchie, ooh, it hurts! But who cares? It doesn't, because for all intents and purposes, he's back in the action, and nothing bad happened to him because of it. But whatever. It's one small thing, and I guess it gives the Minx and Chopper a thing to do. Speaking of Chopper, look, he's funny, and it calls him a baby geezer Chopper, because much like Gear the Third, after Chopper uses his big boy form for too long, he turns really, really tiny, and I guess that's cute. But whatever. We only needed a page to justify getting Zoro back in the fray of things. So let's cut on over to our boy Jinbei, helmsman of the Straw Hats. He can turn that ship real fucking well. And he's fighting Who's Who. And this is a shock, but turns out Who's Who has use of the 6 powers from that one arc that no one really cares about. That's pretty cool. And what's an even more shocking revelation is when Jinbei is all like, oh yeah, I remember now. I heard somebody say something about a guy who used to be in CP9, but then was stupid, and then he wasn't in CP9, was sent to prison. And Who's Who was like, OMG, you remember that? I'm so embarrassed. I'm gonna blush. But yeah, that's me. I was almost as strong as Rob Lucci. People were saying I was gonna be the guy, but then I just fucked up that one time. And you know what that one time was? And Jinbei was like, nah, I never really cared to think about it all that much. And he was like, well, a long time ago, someone stole a devil fruit from a government ship I was on. And it just so happened that devil fruit was the Gomu Gomu no Mi. That one that Straw Hat Man has. Isn't that cool? And isn't that cool? That's pretty nice. I love it when every aspect of Luffy stops it from being random rubber boy and making him actually some god figure who history and fate ordained to come to this point. But I'm sure it's cool. I mean, before we had the frozen straw hat, we also had the him may or may not being Joy Boy, and now we have his devil fruit also being something super special. I guess it's just the direction that Oda's going in, and I'm sure it'll be cool and all. And really, we just got this one word, and we don't know what that really means. It could not actually be all that big of a deal, or it could be a really big deal. I guess only time will tell. And really, that's all there is in the chapter. It ended on that amazing line, like most One Piece chapters do end on some big revelation. We love it. We slurp it up. It's great. But now let's talk a bit about, what's going on here. Because Luffy was pulled out of the water, and Luffy seems like he's going to get back in the battle. Looks like Sanji's going to be fighting Queen. Zoro's getting back in the battle. So either things are gonna be going really well for our raid, like many people think it's gonna do, or my hope is things are gonna go very wrong and the raid is gonna fail. Which I know that's been a popular theory going around. It's also been a popular theory to trash on, because for now it looks like all signs are pointing towards things winning and us defeating Kaido and moving on to another island, getting a new straw hat, and living happily ever after. And while that would be fine, and it would be just like most One Piece arcs go, I'm really hoping for things to be different and to shake up, because just imagine how great it would be if the raid fails. For one, we'd have a good dark point of the story, and for two, it just wouldn't be expected. I also think that the build-up up till now in this arc hasn't really been there. And if this just is the point where we win, like if this is the climax, it kind of feels really underwhelming, Because for this entire time, or at least most of the time, a good few of the Straw Hats haven't really been taking it seriously. They've been joking around, which is cool. I love it when our Straw Hat boys and girls joke around. That's kind of what I come here for. But also, in the climax of an arc, I kind of expect things to be at an emotional high. And I know it is for this arc's cast. Like, all the people from Wano and the Beast Pirates are pretty serious about it. But our Straw Hats, which are focal characters, don't really seem all that into it until, very recently, and only so much. But I'm no One Piece expert. I can't rant to you about historical precedent in One Piece or how I think things are going to go. I ain't all that smart and stuff like that. So I'm going to leave it there and just be happy that I somehow managed to get through my One Piece discussion. I don't know how long it was, but it was fun. Anyways, let's skip right on over number 4, Dr. Stone, at a 9 out of 10. And go to number 3, Yozakura Family, at a 9 out of 10. And that'll be the last one we discussed today, because after that will be My Hero at a 9 out of 10. And at number 1, Red Hood at a 9 out of 10. I'm happy that, unlike last time, the last thing that I get to talk about is at least in my top 3. That doesn't happen often, and it probably will continue to not happen often. So I'll take it when I can get it. Anyway, Yozakura Family. Yet again, another chill chapter, although this time it does lean a bit towards having something interesting going on, since Taio's powers seem to be going crazy with his eyes being all glowy and his blooming ability hardening coming out. But to get to the start of the chapter, Taio and Mutsumi are finally getting back to school, because that's a setting we missed. I mean, I actually did legit miss it. I do, in fact, like it when shonen shows our characters going to school and having friends and whatnot. It kind of helps calm down after big arcs, and I appreciate it. But it's just before they get to school when Mutsumi notices... I'm not going to cut that out. Notices Taio's eyes being all glowy, and she's like, "Fuck, man, you can't be doing that." He's like, "I'm not trying to." So after a bit of confusion and him breaking shit with, bumping into stuff and wrecking it with his hardening power, they decide to get some contacts in his eyes to stop that glowing, and he kind of just can't touch stuff or do anything all day long, because if he does, he'll break actually everything. So that's the plan, as bad as it sounds. And things start to go awry when even more bullshit starts, because somebody, at the time we don't know who, is spreading rumors about Mutsumi and Tayo being a thing, which of course is true, but they don't want people to know because that would be awkward, and I think there are plot reasons why, but point being, they don't appreciate whoever's doing this, so they're spending time trying to die down the rumors, but somehow, each time they do, even more rumors pop up, and what's more, these rumors start to be happening in real time with pictures of events that just happened, and that's not cool. So after a while, after Tayo is sick and tired of this bullshit, and after he gets hit in the head with a ball and has to pretend like, owie, that hurt, he finds out who was responsible. And wouldn't you know it, it's our favorite little boy, Sosuke, the Invisible Man, pulling his bullshit, because he just loved it when he had information and the ladies were all over him for it. But no need for him to worry. Tayo decides to be a saint, and all he will do is flick our boy in the head for forgiveness. And he's like, OMG, thank you, I appreciate it. What he didn't know is that Tayo has his hardening ability on, so that flick fucking destroys him. So that's the end of the school day, and he goes home and he's in bed, real tired, real fucked up, because these hardening powers and this blooming just won't chill out, and he doesn't appreciate it. It gets to the point where he leaves and plants and such start to grow on his hand, and he gets spoken to by a mysterious lady telling them to chill out and just kind of deal with it and it'll go away. Turns out this seems to be Mutsumi's dead mom speaking to him through whatever happens, which is cool. I'm sure that has plot reasons and they'll get into it at a later point. But what's really cool is that now Tayo's abilities are under control a little bit until a later date when they have more plot reasons to break out and do stuff. But for now, they're chill, and we end the chapter with the big revelation that Mutsumi's mom thinks Tayo is a really cool dude, and I appreciate it. But that's the end of the chapter. I don't know what else is to come. I do hope for a few more fun chapters of silliness happening before we jump into our next arc, but we'll see where that goes. For now, I'm just happy I actually got through talking about all of Shonen Jump. I've been postponing it like all day and all of yesterday and even the day before because either heat or rain has been fucking me up and it's just a lot to deal with, you know? But it's fine. It's all in the past. It's done, and I'm gonna stop talking so I can actually edit and upload it. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing you guys next week and have fun. Yeah.